Focus only on yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a moment to breathe, to really breathe, because today I want to talk to you about something that might sound simple, but is profoundly transformative. Focusing on yourself. Yes, yourself. Not the noise around you, not the expectations of others, not the endless comparisons. Just you. You see, life has a way of pulling us in 1,000 directions. It tells us to be everything for everyone, to meet every standard, to chase every goal. But here's the truth. The most powerful thing you can do in this world is to turn your attention inward, to focus on yourself, not in a selfish way, but in a self-filled way. Because when you fill your own cup, you have so much more to pour into the world. Let me ask you this. How often do you stop and ask yourself, what do I truly want? What lights me up? What brings me peace? If you're like most people, the answer is not often enough. We're so busy living for others, seeking validation, or trying to fit into molds that were never meant for us. But here's the thing. You were not put on this earth to live someone else's life. You were put here to live yours. Focusing on yourself means tuning out the distractions, the opinions, the judgments, the endless scroll of what everyone else is doing. It means getting quiet enough to hear your own voice, because deep down, you already know who you are and what you're meant to do. The answers are within you, but you have to be willing to listen. And let me tell you something. When you start focusing on yourself, people might not understand. They might question you, challenge you, or even try to pull you back into their expectations. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't owe anyone an apology for prioritizing your peace, your joy, your growth. This is your life, and you have every right to live it on your terms. Now, focusing on yourself doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It doesn't mean you shut people out or become indifferent. No, it means you show up as the best version of yourself, grounded, centered, and full of purpose. Because when you are aligned with who you are, you become a light for others. You inspire by example. You give permission to those around you to do the same. So today I challenge you, take a step back, breathe. Ask yourself what you need. What makes you come alive? What dreams have you been putting on hold because you've been too busy living for everyone else? This is your moment. This is your time. Focus on yourself. Not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Because here's the beautiful truth. When you focus on yourself, you unlock a power that no one can take away from you. You step into your purpose. You become unstoppable. And the world needs that version of you, the real you, the fully alive, fully present, fully focused you. So go ahead, take up space, own your journey, and remember, the greatest gift you can give to the world is a you that's fully realized. Focus on yourself and watch how everything else. Life has a way of pulling us in 1,000 directions. From the moment we wake up, we're bombarded with demands, work, family, social obligations, and the endless noise of the world around us. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind, to feel like we're constantly running on a treadmill, trying to keep up with everyone else's expectations. But here's the truth. The most powerful thing you can do in this chaos is to pause. Take a step back and turn your attention inward, to focus on yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that fills you up so you can show up fully for your life and for others. Think about it. How often do you truly check in with yourself? How often do you ask, how am I really doing? What do I need right now? For many of us, the answer is not often enough. We're so busy living for others, trying to meet their expectations or chasing goals that society has told us are important, that we forget to ask ourselves if those goals even matter to us. We forget to listen to the quiet voice inside that knows what we truly want, what we truly need. Turning your attention inward isn't about shutting out the world or ignoring your responsibilities. It's about creating a space where you can reconnect with yourself. It's about giving yourself permission to slow down, to breathe, and to ask the hard but necessary questions. Am I happy? Am I living a life that feels authentic to me? Am I honoring my own needs and desires? These questions might feel uncomfortable at first, but discomfort is often a sign of growth. It's a sign that you're finally starting to prioritize what really matters. When you turn your attention inward, you begin to see things more clearly. You start to notice the patterns in your life, the habits, the relationships, the choices that are serving you and the ones that are holding you back. You start to recognize the difference between what you truly want and what you've been conditioned to want. And in that clarity, you find power, the power to make changes, to set boundaries, to say no to what doesn't align with your values and yes to what lights you up. This isn't always easy. In fact, it can be incredibly challenging, especially if you've spent years or even decades living for others. You might feel guilty at first, like you're being selfish or neglecting your responsibilities. But here's the thing, focusing on yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't show up fully for the people you love if you're running on empty. By turning your attention inward, by filling your own cup, you're actually doing the most generous thing you can do for yourself and for everyone around you. Imagine what your life could look like if you made this shift. Imagine waking up each morning with a sense of purpose, knowing that you're living a life that's true to who you are. Imagine feeling grounded and centered no matter what's happening around you. Imagine having the clarity and confidence to make decisions that align with your values rather than being swayed by the opinions of others. This is the power of turning your attention inward. It's not just about self-care or self-improvement, it's about self-discovery. It's about uncovering the person you were always meant to be and giving yourself permission to live as that person, unapologetically. And here's the beautiful part. When you start to focus on yourself, something incredible happens. You begin to radiate a kind of energy that draws people in. You become a magnet for positivity, for growth, for connection. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're finally showing up as your authentic self. And when you do that, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living example of what it means to live with intention, with purpose, with self-love. So today, I invite you to take that first step, to turn your attention inward, even if it's just for a few moments, to ask yourself the hard questions and to listen, really listen to the answers, to give yourself permission to prioritize your needs, your dreams, your peace. Because the truth is, you are the most important project you'll ever work on. And when you focus on yourself, you unlock a power that no one can take away from you. You step into your purpose. You become unstoppable. In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. We get so caught up in the routines, the deadlines, the expectations, that we forget to ask ourselves one simple but profound question. What do I truly want? not what your parents want for you, not what your friends think you should do, not what society says is the right path, but what you want. Deep down in the quietest corners of your heart, what is it that you truly desire? This question might feel uncomfortable at first. It might even feel selfish. After all, we're often taught to put others first, to prioritize their needs and wants over our own. But here's the truth. You cannot live a fulfilling life if you're constantly ignoring your own desires. You cannot find true happiness if you're always living for someone else's dream. Asking yourself what you truly want isn't selfish. It's essential. It's the first step toward living a life that feels authentic, meaningful, and deeply satisfying. Think about it. How many decisions have you made in your life because they were expected of you? How many paths have you taken because they seemed safe or because someone else told you they were the right ones? And how many of those decisions have left you feeling empty, unfulfilled, or disconnected from yourself? It's not that those choices were wrong. It's that they weren't yours. They didn't come from a place of authenticity. They didn't align with who you truly are and what you truly want. Asking yourself what you truly want requires courage. It requires you to be honest with yourself, even when the answers are uncomfortable. It requires you to let go of the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, and the fear of disappointing others. But here's the thing. When you start to ask yourself this question, something incredible happens. You begin to reconnect with yourself. You begin to remember the dreams you once had, the passions you once felt, the person you once wanted to be. And in that reconnection, you find clarity, you find direction, you find purpose. This isn't about making drastic changes overnight. It's not about quitting your job, ending relationships, or uprooting your life, unless, of course, that's what you truly want. It's about starting small. It's about taking a moment each day to check in with yourself, to ask, is this what I want? Does this feel right to me? Am I honoring my own needs and desires? It's about making choices, big and small, that align with your true self. It's about giving yourself permission to say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what lights you up. And let me tell you something, when you start to live this way, when you start to make choices based on what you truly want, your life begins to change. You start to feel more alive, more present, more connected to yourself and to the world around you. You start to notice the things that bring you joy, the things that make you feel whole, and you begin to prioritize them. You begin to create a life that feels like yours, not someone else's. But here's the challenge. Asking yourself what you truly want isn't a one-time thing. It's an ongoing practice. It's something you have to do again and again, because life is constantly changing, and so are you. What you wanted 5 years ago might not be what you want today, and that's okay. The important thing is that you keep asking the question, that you keep checking in with yourself, that you keep honoring your own needs and desires, even when it's hard. And yes, there will be times when it's hard. There will be times when the answers aren't clear, when you feel lost or uncertain. There will be times when you're tempted to fall back into old patterns, to put others first and ignore your own wants. But in those moments, I want you to remember this. You are the only person who can live your life. You are the only person who knows what truly matters to you, and you owe it to yourself, to the person you are and the person you're becoming, to ask the question and to listen to the answer. So today I challenge you, take a moment to ask yourself what you truly want. Not what you think you should want, not what others want for you, but what you want. And then take one small step toward that. One small step toward the life you dream of, the life you deserve. Because the truth is, you have everything you need within you to create that life. You just have to be willing to ask the question and to act on the answer. In a world that's constantly buzzing with noise, social media, news, opinions, and endless to-do lists, it's easy to lose touch with the one voice that matters most, your own. We live in an age of distraction where our attention is pulled in 100 different directions every single day. But here's the truth. Amidst all that noise, there, a quiet, steady voice within you, a voice that knows who you are, what you want, and where you're meant to go. The challenge isn't hearing that voice. It's tuning out the distractions long enough to listen. Think about it. How often do you give yourself the space to truly listen to yourself? Not to the opinions of others, not to the expectations of society, but to your own inner wisdom. For many of us, the answer is not often enough. We're so busy reacting to the world around us that we forget to pause and check in with ourselves. We forget that the answers we're searching for, the clarity, the direction, the peace, we just have to be willing to listen. Tuning out distractions isn't about shutting out the world entirely. It's about creating moments of stillness in your day, moments where you can disconnect from the external noise and reconnect with yourself. It's about turning down the volume on the outside world so you can hear the whispers of your own heart. Because here's the thing, your inner voice is always there, guiding you, nudging you, reminding you of what's true for you. But it's quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't compete with the noise. It waits patiently for you to tune in. Listening to your inner voice requires intention. It requires you to carve out time for yourself, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. It might mean putting your phone down, stepping away from the screens, and sitting in silence. It might mean going for a walk in nature, journaling your thoughts, or simply closing your eyes and breathing deeply. Whatever it looks like for you, the key is to create space. Space to listen, space to reflect, space to just be. And when you do this, something incredible happens. You begin to hear yourself more clearly. You begin to notice the thoughts, feelings, and desires that have been buried under the noise. You begin to trust yourself more. Because the truth is, your inner voice is your greatest guide. It knows what's right for you, even when the world tries to tell you otherwise. It knows your truth, your purpose, your path. All you have to do is listen. But let's be honest. Listening to your inner voice isn't always easy. It requires courage. It requires you to let go of the need for external validation, to trust yourself even when it feels uncomfortable. It requires you to be honest with yourself even when the truth is hard to face. But here's the thing. Every time you listen to that voice, every time you honor it, you strengthen your connection to yourself. You build trust in your own wisdom. And that trust becomes the foundation for everything else in your life. So today I challenge you, tune out the distractions, create a moment of stillness, and listen. Really listen to your inner voice. Because that voice is your compass, it's your guide, it's the key to living a life that's true to who you are. And the more you listen, the clearer the path becomes. There comes a moment in life when you realize that you've been living for everyone else. your family, your friends, your co-workers, even strangers whose opinions shouldn't matter. You've been saying yes when you wanted to say no, bending over backward to meet expectations, and sacrificing your own needs to keep the peace. And while it might feel noble in the moment, over time it leaves you drained, disconnected, and wondering where you went in all of it. Here's the truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't owe anyone an apology for prioritizing your peace, your joy, your growth. This is your life, and you have every right to live it on your terms. Choosing yourself isn't about being selfish. It's about recognizing that you matter, that your needs, your dreams, your well-being are just as important as anyone else's. It's about understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup, that you can't show up fully for others if you're running on empty. Choosing yourself is an act of self-respect, self-love, and self-preservation. And yet, so many of us struggle with this. We feel guilty for saying no, for setting boundaries, for putting ourselves first. We worry about what others will think, how they'll react, whether they'll judge us. But here's the thing. Their opinions are not your responsibility. Their expectations are not your burden to carry. You are not here to live someone else's life. You are here to live yours. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you made a decision purely because it felt right to you? Not because it was what someone else wanted, not because it was what you thought you should do, but because it aligned with your values, your desires, your truth. If you're like most people, it's probably been a while. We're so conditioned to seek approval, to avoid conflict, to keep everyone happy, that we forget we have the right to make choices that honor us. But here's the truth. Every time you choose yourself, you reclaim a piece of your power. You remind yourself that your voice matters, that your needs are valid, that your life is your own. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. Choosing yourself can be incredibly hard, especially if you're used to putting others first. It might mean having difficult conversations, setting boundaries that feel uncomfortable, or walking away from situations that no longer serve you. It might mean disappointing people, facing criticism, or even losing relationships. But here's the thing. Anyone who truly cares about you will respect your choices. Anyone who truly loves you will want you to be happy, even if it means they don't get what they want from you. And those who don't, well, that's their journey, not yours. Choosing yourself is also about trusting your own judgment. It's about believing that you know what's best for you, even when others disagree. It's about standing firm in your decisions, even when they're unpopular. Because here's the truth. No one knows you better than you do. No one understands your heart, your dreams, your struggles the way you do. And no one has the right to tell you how to live your life. You are the expert of your own experience. You are the author of your own story. And you don't need anyone else's permission to write it the way you want. But let's be real. Choosing yourself isn't a one-time thing. It's a daily practice. It's a series of small, intentional decisions that add up over time. It's saying no to the extra project at work because you need rest. It's taking a day off to recharge instead of pushing yourself to the brink. It's speaking up for what you need, even when it's uncomfortable. It's honoring your boundaries, even when others try to cross them. It's putting yourself first, not because you don't care about others, but because you know that you can't truly care for others if you don't care for. And here's the beautiful part. When you choose yourself, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living example of what it means to live authentically, to honor your truth, to prioritize your well-being. You show others that it's okay to say no, to set boundaries, to put themselves first. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect of empowerment, of self-love, of authenticity. Because the truth is, we're all connected. And when one of us chooses ourselves, it gives others the courage to do the same. So today, I want you to give yourself permission to choose yourself, to prioritize your needs, to live your life on your terms. I want you to let go of the guilt, the fear, the need for approval. I want you to trust yourself, to believe in yourself, to stand firm in your choices, because you don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't owe anyone an apology for living your truth. This is your life, and you have every right to make it yours.